Many inhabitants of Tajikistan, including those in western Badakhshan, imagine Badakhshan like this. Indeed, more than half of Badakhshan looks completely different. More famous is Mugab, or eastern Pamir. This area is situated more than 4,000 meters above sea level. Currently, scientists and experts are focused on problems of deforestation, and ordinary people are busy trying to figure out where they can find fuel for keeping their homes warm. In both cases, the word Teresken is frequently repeated. Murghab is surrounded by little vegetation. On the whole, this bush, known as Teresken, grows there. Today, humans and animals alike need this bush. Animals eat their leaves and the branches, while humans use it to heat their houses and cook their food.
We have to root out Teresken. Teresken is by nature created to be fodder for animals, but unfortunately, we have to use it for fuel. Owing to its destruction, wind and water erosion of the soil is intensified, and this leads to deforestation. How are people digging it up now? To tell the truth in turns. In the past, our grandfathers digged up only the decayed. We believe that human life is more valuable than the environment, than cattle. I've been building roads for more than 15 years. Our ancestral home is located in Murghab. I moved here with pleasure, because my wife is from here. We have lived a good life. I used to receive a high salary. My wife worked in the kindergarten. We lived an active life and participated in all the community events in Toktamish. Our place was so full of family and friends, there was no place to sit. We had more fuel than we needed. Our house was always warm, and I could not even imagine that I would spend my weekends on restocking my supplies of Teresken.
Indeed, such a situation developed in the beginning of the 1960s and forced scientists to appeal to the Tajik authorities for them to supply the district with coal. This saved Teresken from extinction. A special role in the preservation of Teresken during this time was played by the previous director of the Institute of Biology in Pamir, the academic Yusuf Bekov.
До 1961 года, когда население района было маленькое, действительно наши отцы и деды на Терескене и...
Before 1961, it was the same. Our fathers and grandfathers used Teresken, but not like this. There was a lot of cattle. Now the amount of cattle is decreasing daily. Meanwhile, the population is increasing.
Количество численности народа, жителей растет.
Although not realizing it, the border troops in many ways contributed to the preservation of Teresken. The tense relationship with China led to the deployment of one detachment, 2 commandant's posts, and 12 pickets in Murghab. Teresken was one of the most important sources for fuel for the local inhabitants.
People traded milk and meat for fuel. That was a good time, and now they have left, and we have problems with diesel supplies.
После развала Союза положение резко ухудшилось.
After the fall of the Soviet Union, the situation rapidly worsened. The sources for fuel disappeared one after another. The Russian border guards left Murgab. The district was deprived of cheap imported coal. Every year, up to 15 tons of coal was imported to the district, and the transport expenses were paid for by the government. The only hydroelectric power station which had operated at 100% capacity is no longer online. Due to forced migration, the population has increased from 10 to 16,000 people, and the cattle has decreased from 30 to 15,000.
Поголовье скота уменьшилось 2 раза. Як, или как его здесь называют по-другому,
Fewer
гождок,
cattle, especially a reduction in the number of yaks, does by itself imply a decrease in the living standards of the people in the district. Because the yak, or it is often called here gazgov, is the main source of livelihood for the stock-raising Kyrgyz in Murgab.
набираются сил и начинают давать продукцию именно благодаря Терескену, 100 килограмм которого содержит 50 кормовых единиц. Сегодня
Today there is no vegetation left around the villages. Because of this, they are taking the cattle to remote pastures. There, a new danger is waiting for them: wild beasts. Here, wealth is not counted in gold, houses, or cars, but in the number of yaks.
А уменьшение поголовья скота, особенно яков, автоматически означает понижение жизненного уровня жителей района. Здесь богатство исчисляется не машинами, дворцами и килограммами золота, а численностью яков.
As for women, they are the member of the family responsible for keeping the house warm and lovingly transfer local traditions and customs from generation to generation.
Их из поколения в поколение.
In Murgab, where the population density is 1 person per square kilometer, people can only afford to gather in the district center during the big festivals. The affection for one's home districts even brings back people who left Murgab a long time ago.
Canımda birge ötkörgünde Yaşlık dele canım esteyir Uşunday tatal turmuştay Uğrunsa kolun cıldızga Usin algaç tattırganda Ulandı canım
But the festivals are soon over, and the difficult daily life begins again. Then it is time again to think about how to find fuel for heating one's home and cooking food.
Today,
Teresken sells extremely well, especially in the district center where there is Teresken Bazaar, which is also filled with buyers and sellers. There are some people who survive solely by selling Teresken.
Если веревка нет,
Численность таких людей
The number of such
возрастает.
people is increasing due to impoverished families and unemployment. More than 1,600 houses need at least 15 to 20 kilograms of this
Ежедневно
bush
необходимо по
annually.
меньшей мере 15-20 килограммов этого кустарника.
Принимаем штрафные санкции, то, что можем, получаем.
The penalties are symbolic. Many of them do not work anywhere, mainly children, older people, and pensioners who have low pensions. We do not receive the benefits of the fines we pay them.
То, что мы штрафуем, это не можем даже получить. Передаем в суд.
Но никто не думает, что в этом солнечной...
Before the fall of the Soviet Union, the parliamentarians were repeatedly faced with having regions in the sunny Tajikistan that in terms of climate are similar to the northmost districts of the far north of the Russian Federation.
Севера Российской Федерации.
Это больше всего чувствуется в долине Аличу, которая
This is especially felt in the Alachul Valley, which is situated on the way to Murghab.
нуждается в топливе все 12 месяцев в году. Не спасает людей лето, которое здесь длится
The
чуть
inhabitants of the
больше.
valley need fuel 12 months a year. The snow lying in the shadow of the yurts does not melt, because as soon as the sun passes into the clouds, the temperature drops abruptly, and the people are forced to prepare their food mainly through burning Teresken.
Первобытным способом, сжигая Терескен. Вот так Мургаб встречает гостей.
In this manner, guests are received in Murghab. Today it is the 7th of September, and the air temperature in other districts of Tajikistan reaches 30 to 35 degrees. But here in the Alachul Valley, snow is falling, and there is ice in the streams.
Возможно, этот холод нравится лишь знаменитым и грациозным
It is most
овцам
likely
Марко
that this
Поло,
cold is
архарам,
pleasing to the
которым,
Marco
как и
Polo
многим
sheep,
другим видам
or,
животных,
as it is often known, the Pamir argali. According to non-official data, the profit from argali hunting reaches some $30,000. Generally, besides argali, there are many beautiful things in Murghab.
$30,000, что по карману лишь иностранным охотникам. Однако от этого простой житель Мургаба не ощущает реальной пользы. Кроме архаров в Мургабе есть на что посмотреть. Например, индийские гуси, занесенные в Красную книгу. С начала весны до ранней осени они обитают именно в высокогорных озерах Мургаба. Этот край потрясает человека своей фантастической, но суровой красотой. Только охотникам, чабанам да редким туристам...
This area is full of contrasts. On the one side, there's the sunburnt steppe. On the other, large rivers and lakes, low living standards, and lots of natural resources.
Кадирбой Исманов, более 30 лет занимающийся в долине...
Kadir Bey Ismanov has for more than 30 years been working as a medical doctor. He has his own view of the natural beauty of Murghab.
Если нас кто-то телевизор смотрит, а говорят, они вот в раю.
Those who watch our life on TV believe that we are living in paradise. But this is not the case. Let them come here and see if it is really like that in our valley. Then they will understand what life is really like here. There is only one hospital for 2 sovkhozes, covering an area of more than 100 square kilometers. There are no transportation facilities. The sovkhoz cannot support any transportation, so sometimes one has to travel to the sick by motorbike, other times on donkeys, even at times by foot.
Абсолютно ничего нет сейчас.
Жаман жаттыңар, қолда жақсы. Не, балаң не?
қарап қойыңшы.
Жақсы. Ойнайна, қандай? Жақсы ғой? Гап жоқ.
Imagine the sick have to heat the rooms in the hospital themselves. In turns, they are bringing in Teresken for the ovens. We, the doctors, we get warm in the sun or among the sick in their rooms.
Сен жақсысың ба? Ай, молодец.
У нас свое есть месторождение Кортике, но там этот уголь еще не созревший.
In Kurtakeke, we have our own coal mine, but the quality of coal is very low and does not correspond to international standards.
Разработка угольного месторождения в Куртаке
The processing of coal from the Kurteki mine began years ago on the initiative of 7 miners from Kyrgyzstan. They got initial funding from ACTID. Practically speaking, all work was done by hand. The miners were symbolically called apache. The government and ACTID have diametrically opposed views on the exploitation of this coal mine.
Но официального ответа так и не получили. Поскольку все работы производились вручную, разработчиков символично прозвали «Апачи». По поводу разработки данного месторождения точки зрения правительства и АКТЭД противоположны друг другу.
Мы думаем, что другой выход нету здесь.
We believe there is no other way. Every day, almost 5 hectares of Teresken is rooted out.
5 гектаров за день люди копают вот этот Терескен.
Сотрудники АКТЭД уверены, что в сегодняшних условиях
The staff of ACTID is convinced that because of the present conditions, this is the only way out. They are waiting to receive a license in order to begin the exploitation of the coal, if only by hand, and sell it on the market at prices lower than the prices of Teresken, so that the impoverished population can afford to buy it.
дешевое топливо.
In order to prepare for the winter, I have to solve my problems with the help of the only tractor in the village that I rent 3 to 4 times, standing in the same line as the other villagers. This is not an easy thing to do. Each time it consumes 30 to 40 liters of diesel, and $100 to $150 is spent on this annually.
Необходимо 30-40 литров солярки каждый раз.
But in any case, this is cheaper than to buy coal. For each year, I have to go farther and farther away on the steppe, because in the areas where Teresken has been rooted out, it takes several decades for new plants to grow and replace the old.
Потому что на месте вырванного с корнем Терескена новый появится только через десятилетия.
Средняя продолжительность жизни на
The average lifespan in eastern Pamir is about 40 years. Older inhabitants of Murgab say that Teresken needs some 70 years to mature.
Целых 70 лет. Такую картину можно наблюдать в любых окрестностях Мургаба.
It is possible to see such a picture all over Murgab. In order to replenish Teresken supplies, one has to travel some 40 to 50 kilometers. People know about the destructive consequences of such sabotniks, but there are no other options because the frost in Murgab does not allow people to choose between ecology and the warmth required for human life.
Не оставляют возможности выбора между экологией и жизненно необходимым теплом.
Здесь у нас есть золото, и серебро, большие запасы, и бора.
We have gold ores, silver, boron, and precious stones, all which require processing. Because of this, the question of providing Murgab with electricity is of prime importance.
Чтобы Мургаб обеспечить электроэнергией.
If it will continue like this, I think that I will have to look for a better job. Even state institutions are heeded by Teresken. So, besides the local population, the border guards are also using Teresken. If no measures are taken, then we will not be able to live here after 2 to 3 years.
Хотя, со слов чиновников, массовую миграцию удалось остановить,
Even though state officials say that mass immigration has been stopped, no one denies the possibility of new migration. According to the calculations of the staff of the Institute of Biology in Pamir, the deforestation of Murgab is happening at a speed of not less than 2 to 3 kilometers per year. Guessing about the future in Murgab, I believe differently. State officials are searching for alternative sources of fuel, but the ordinary people are wondering where they can find Teresken during the next coming years. Meanwhile, dust storms are more and more frequently covering Murgab.
между тем, пыльные бури все чаще и чаще покрывают Мургаб.